definitely move all.
Okay, are we ready now?
Yeah, but when you...
Getting the bowl ready. Got this nice new serving dish I picked up in St. George. So, gummy bears for all. You're welcome. Anyway, just wanted to get a YouTube video up. We got pretty busy leading into the race and haven't posted a video in a while, so I thought giving kind of an overview leading into the race and then how St. George went for me would be nice for all of you. So let's start with leading into the race. So I did Oceanside, and that was kind of just check the box, nothing fantastic. Trained pretty heavily into that. I feel like crying because I'm so quiet. And then came home. I also met my coach in Oceanside, Cam Watt. He came from Brisbane, Australia. I haven't seen him in almost 3 years because of the pandemic, so it was super good to see Cam, and most importantly, it was good for him to see me and to tell me everything that I need to do better or things that I can improve on, especially in the swim. You know, having live feedback in the water is so crucial to improvement, and I really miss that. And having him on deck for the 5 weeks between Oceanside and St. George was awesome and difficult, but I think it paid off. So yeah, came back home to Salt Lake, got into the last build up to Ironman World Championships in St. George, and training went really well. I was pushing some of my best power on the bike in workouts, running some of my best Ironman run workouts off the bike or just standalone. So I was really feeling confident a few weeks out from St. George. It kind of took a while for me to feel Ironman ready. I knew all along that having a world championship at the beginning of May for me was going to be interesting because I chose to stay home in winter. I was in winter for all of it, and not that you can't train well through winter, you know, Zwift, riding inside, treadmill, all of that, it's very effective, but I just know for me, my body totally like changes and responds differently in the heat of summer versus in the cold of winter. But yeah, a few weeks ahead of the race, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. Workouts were giving me confidence. Things were going well. So that's kind of what the buildup looked like for me. It was exhausting, tons of training, and then also making media and videos for sponsors. You know, we made a video for SRAM and Trek. If you haven't watched those, you should definitely go check them out. So yeah, I just tried to keep it focused on training, you know, saying no to other things that were going to take my time and energy, but not maybe add value to what I was trying to accomplish. So that's part of being an athlete. And yeah, what else? Anything else for the lead up? I just don't want to like talk and be chewing and listen to myself. Okay, ready? We had horrible weather. April in Salt Lake City can be very wintry or it can be very springy. It always snows at least once or twice in April, but I feel like it snowed every 3 days this last April, so that was good times. But we made it through and just made the nice sunny days even more special. So I guess we'll get more to the race. We left Salt Lake City on the Friday before the race and got down to St. George. I really liked getting to a race that early. It was nice to not have like the fatigue of travel or packing and all that right before the race. It was cool to get there, get settled in, get so many nights of good sleep before a race. Plus for me, I just packed my car and drove down, which is super easy. So getting to St. George was a breeze. And then once we got to St. George, it was so nice to be warm. Like, oh, I miss the sun. I miss being warm so much. So that alone just like made the trip. got in some good training sessions, and yeah, we experienced, some of the brutal wind of St. George. I actually did a hour 45 bike workout the week before the race, and I was heading north up to like the Vale Loop area, and there was this crazy block headwind the whole way, and I had efforts and everything and hardly traveled very far. I mean, I literally, you can look on my Strava, I covered 36 kilometers in an hour 45, which is, let me get the miles because I know a lot of you are American, 22 and a half miles in an hour and 45 minutes. So that's very slow, in case you're wondering. The headwind was insane, and after that workout, I thought, oh my gosh, if that is how it is on race day, this bike is going to take 6 hours. Like, no joke. That's just how it's going to be. So I knew going into the race, I needed to be prepared for everything. Fortunately, the wind wasn't that bad. But anyway, just giving you a little insight. Also leading into the race, I had some interviews with Ironman, Breakfast with Bob, Triathlon Mockery. Got to meet a lot of my sponsors for the first time, so that was really, really cool. It's good to build an in-person relationship with sponsors. So that meant a lot to me, and I felt so much love and was so taken care of by my sponsors all week, especially SRAM and Trek. Obviously they took care of my bike and made sure it was ready to go, and that was so nice, not having to worry about getting it race ready or worrying about whether everything was running smoothly. Like, it was just perfect, so thank you. Then, let's see, we had the press conference and the pro meeting, and that's kind of when things get real. So that's the Thursday before the race on Saturday, and when I woke up on Thursday, that's when I started feeling nervous, because race day is upon you if you're going to the pro race briefing. And yeah, so we got through Thursday, and then Friday is always actually the worst day of the week, in my opinion, the day before the race. Because race day is so close, you're nervous, you have to drop all your gear off. It's kind of like last chance. Did I get my gear all right? Did I forget anything? And am I gonna get any sleep tonight? Like, all the thoughts, like, race day's happening, it's tomorrow. So getting through Friday was probably, the worst part of the week for me, just from the nerves perspective. But yeah, I felt good and ready to get going on the race. I rested well the week leading in. And then Saturday was race day. I woke up at 2:45 a.m., which is an awful hour to wake up, but that is what it takes with Ironman. And I didn't sleep great that night before, but that happens when you're doing races and you're nervous. That's why I always like to make sure I get tons of rest leading into the race, because the night before is just like, you could sleep and you could not sleep. And in this case, I didn't sleep very well, but woke up, felt fine, and got ready to go. And we had to take the shuttles to Sand Hollow, and got on the shuttle all right. I think our shuttle, I don't know, it took like an hour from the time I got to the bus stop to when we actually got to Sand Hollow. It was almost an hour, which is kind of crazy, but I didn't really mind having that time on the bus to just relax a little bit. And then at that point I was on a pro bus, so it was all professionals, and I take a lot of comfort being with other people in my situation. We're all a little nervous, we're all about to do the same thing, so that was good. And then got into transition, everything set up fine, and then it was time to race. So we can get to the race, but I need a little fueling first and hydration. So racing, I think if you're trying to be one of the best, you have to have a race plan, or you want to execute in a way like believing you can win it. So your execution is based on your pathway. You think you can win it, or at least get you to as close to the front as you can. So that is the race plan that my coach and I formulated. And it started off really well. I knew I needed to swim with as close to the front as I could. That first chase pack would have made my life a lot easier on race day. So I was like full committed, lined up next to women who I thought I would be swimming with or I wanted to swim with, and then just went so hard off the gun. I think the swim start is, for a swimmer like me, who's not maybe going to have a guaranteed, like Lucy Charles is going to swim fast no matter what. She knows she's going to be off the front no matter what. For me, getting with the pack and being on feet is quite important. So the swim start's crucial to that, and I just swam so hard. It still felt a bit chaotic, like you can just feel the people behind you sucking you back, but just fighting through that. And I made note of everyone's swim caps before the start of the swim, so I would know if I was with the right people, and I knew who to, try to stay on feet of. And I don't know how many minutes or meters went by, but it eventually kind of died down. I could tell no one was on my, or at least it felt like we were just swimming efficiently versus in a big whirlpool. And I could see Daniela's purple cap, I could see Anne Haug's red cap, I could see Kat Matthews' silver cap. So I was like, okay, I did it. Like, this is exactly where I need to be. Don't freak out. Don't like lose attention and lose the feet or anything. I was like, stay calm. We just have to stay right here. And this is exactly where we want to be. And so I did just that, and it felt quite comfortable swimming on the feet in that pack, so that was nice. But again, it's just like, don't freak out. I don't need to be, just because it felt comfortable doesn't mean I need to go and try and swim harder and drop anyone or something silly. Like, this is who I want to be with, this is where I'm going to stay. So swam the whole race with that pack and came out right after Daniela, and then it was on to transition. And transitions matter even in Ironman, and I made sure to make the most of those. So I was a little nervous. I swam with my sleeves down, but I practiced putting it on and off and making sure I had it all set up to get on easily, and I was able to get it on like just in time. We had a pretty short run from the water to transition the pros, so I had to work quickly, make quick of that transition time, get my suit up, and I think I was first out of transition on the bike, but Daniela was like right behind me and passed me immediately. So it was off to a great start. And Daniela was off, and I was going to try and ride with her because that was probably maybe going to be the front of the race. So I was going to try to ride with her and whoever else came along, and I did. It was definitely hot from the start, like very hard. Maybe in part because my bike legs didn't feel amazing, and in part because Daniela was just laying it down. But I hung on with Kat and Daniela for probably an hour 20 or so, or 90 minutes. And then, the elastic band was stretching, and sometimes I would get it back, but it was feeling really, really hard for me. And you think maybe, there's just going to be this big surge and then we'll let up, but it never let up after an hour and a half. And I could just tell, obviously I could see the watts on my computer, but I could also just tell by the feeling. I'm like, this is a 70.3 effort for me, and I don't think, like, this isn't sustainable for me if I want to, first of all, make it up those last two climbs, and second of all, just give my best on the day. So eventually Kat and Danny rode away, and I ended up riding mostly alone. Lisa Norden was kind of up ahead of me for a while, and then Anne Haug and Jocelyn caught me before the Snow Canyon loop. But anyway, the bike was unusual for me. I really didn't feel super great most of the time on the bike. It was a bit of a slog, but I just had to push hard, get through it. It just wasn't a fantastic feeling bike. Like the climbs, I just felt like I didn't have my usual like gusto going into climbs. I usually push it really hard, but it was really a bit survival mode, like get up the climbs versus attack the climbs. So that was a little frustrating, I guess, but I stayed positive. And when Anne and Jocelyn caught me, it was actually like a breath of fresh air, because then I wasn't alone anymore, and there was someone to kind of pace off of and just be there with. So that really helped me. Thank you, Anne and Jocelyn, for catching me. And what else about the bike? It got really, really hot on the bike. I will admit that, but I just made sure to use aid stations, dousing myself with all the cold water to cool down. And what really helped me get through the bike mentally, I stayed positive and was just like, okay, we're just going to get this done. But I just knew the marathon was a new chapter of the race. And I know that sounds ridiculous because when you get to the marathon, you've already been racing for 6 hours. So like, how is that a fresh start? But it is. It seriously is. You get off the bike, your body changes position, you get the helmet off your head, and it's just a totally different experience. There's aid stations every mile, so you can cover yourself with ice and water. So I spent a lot of the bike just reminding myself, like, okay, get through this. The marathon's next. It's a new game in the marathon. And just because your bike doesn't feel great doesn't mean your run can't feel great. Like each sport is like totally exclusive in my mind, even though it is triathlon and it's all one. But anyway, came into transition, had another awesome transition. I made it out first from that transition and started on the run, and Anne Hag passed me like straight away, kind of to be expected there. But then it was just about running strong and fueling and staying cool, and obviously some pacing involved to get through the marathon strong. And I did end up passing Lisa Norden to get 4th place. I think she was in 3rd for a lot. Anyway, that's kind of what happened on the run. I made up 1 place by passing Lisa. So I'm really happy with the marathon. It was definitely challenging, but when I'm running, I'm not thinking about, oh, how much longer do I have or how hard it is. I'm really just thinking about each step and like the next aid station and eating. What am I going to eat next? What drinks am I going to go for at the next aid station? All those things. So I don't know. I stayed pretty occupied. Plus, there were so many spectators on the run course. It was awesome. I really heard all the cheers. I probably didn't acknowledge any of them. But I did hear them, and they did mean a lot, so thank you. So I went into the race believing, there was a pathway for me to possibly win it, and there was definitely a pathway for me to podium or something, but I'm so proud of my effort. I executed the race, probably one of the best executed races I've ever done, just from the swim start to transitions to trying to hang on the bike and all of that. I just did exactly what I wanted to, and that ended up good enough for 4th at the World Championships. So I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of how far I've come. I think it's interesting being a professional athlete. I think sometimes you feel like you have to put on this front that, oh, if you don't win, then you can't be satisfied. But like, I'm totally happy that I executed and became 4th, and I have to remember, 6 or 7 years ago, or even like 4 years ago, I only would have dreamt of even qualifying for a world championship, let alone being 4th in the world. So there's obviously we keep working and, try to be better and work to be better, but I'm also really pleased with how my first world championship went. And 4th in the world, top American, there we go. The highlight for me, honestly, was probably during the swim when I realized I was right where I wanted to be in the swim pack, because that doesn't happen all the time for me. Sometimes I find myself completely alone in the swim, and then you have an entire swim to, I try not to beat myself up, but you definitely have the thought of like, well, I screwed that up, and now I'm going to have to chase out of the water the whole time, So I think being in that swim pack right from the start, being exactly where I wanted to be to set myself up for the day, was probably the highlight for me. And then finishing is always a great feeling, getting to the finish line. Oh, I'll say the other tough part I just remembered. Okay, so there was this out and back right before the finish line. I think, I don't know, maybe it made up an extra mile or so. And there was like no coverage, hardly any spectators. It was just hot, kind of felt by yourself. And we did that first out and back at the end of the first loop. And then coming down diagonal for the second time, so I'm sitting at like a mile left. I'm sitting there thinking, do I have to do that out and back again? And I couldn't remember from the course maps if I had to do it again. And I was looking at my watch, seeing how far I'd gone, and I'm thinking, okay, I didn't start my watch exactly at the beginning, so maybe I'm almost to the end, and maybe we just go right straight to the finish line. And then I get to the roundabout at the end of diagonal, and I hear the announcer saying, like, here comes Sky Monch. She has just over a mile left. And literally in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I do have to do that out and back again. It crushed my soul, but I did it. So anyway, I don't know if any of you can relate to that who raced, but that was the big soul crusher on the run for me. Not the hills, not like the big steep hills, but that little hot and lonely out and back was the soul crusher on the second loop, right before the finish line. But it made the finish line shoot even better. So I think the most important part about getting this race done is like making sure that I give myself some relaxation and downtime. You know, Ironman training all winter long, and the build up for a world championship was pretty big physically and mentally. And I'm really looking forward and enjoying already this week of just like chill, some active recovery, some days off. I'm flying to LA this weekend for that race, but that is like a totally no stress situation. So I'm looking forward to, you know, finding some nice restaurants in LA to go to with my husband. And this week I've already taken my dog for a walk, which I hadn't done in a long time because I was so busy and tired training. So just doing the little things that make me feel good and, you know, connected with my life and my family and my husband and all those things. So yeah, I've tempted myself with like a spa treatment. I don't know yet. I haven't been home long enough to plan anything, and I'm flying out in 2.5 days. So, but I'm definitely going to enjoy myself in LA and yeah, make sure that I'm mentally ready to get back to training. I think in Kona you get like this pretty wooden bowl. It has a name that I don't remember because I don't have one. I've never been to Kona. But this is the World Championship Bowl, and maybe they said this in the presentation at the awards ceremony, but they said a lot of things at the awards ceremony there, so I can't remember. But I think, you know, we've got like the red rocks, the orange rocks, the shimmering stuff, and to me, these waves and everything, those are all the hills on the bike and run. That's what that is for me. And then, yeah, I think this makes a really nice candy bowl or ice cream bowl or salad bowl. So here we are. And, you know, I'm just trying to decide which gummy bear flavor is actually my favorite. Obviously, we've got purple here, so that probably by default has to be my favorite. But the grapefruit flavor is really good too. So sorry, grape. That's the grapefruit. This is a good one. I'm tempted by some other races. I'm feeling tempted by another Ironman right now, but I'm not totally sure. I need to talk with my coach. You know, St. George is still a little fresh, but I'm feeling good physically and mentally. What are we, 3 days after? So I'll let you guys know. You'll have to stay tuned because I legitimately don't have a solid plan yet, but I am feeling like I'd like to race again. And then, yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching, everyone. If you have any other questions or comments, be sure to comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you liked this recap, don't forget to share with your friends.